Good afternoon, everybody. This is Joy LaChere. I'm your host today, and we have Country Dave Harmonson with us today. He's just grabbing his guitar here in the background. I do want to give a shout out to my sponsor, Luscious Moss Studio, owned and operated by Chad Christ in Edgewood, Washington. And Chad has a very creative, collaborative environment that he set up primarily for drummers and guitarists, but he does produce people's work and CDs, and he's done some of mine. So if you have any needs, do call him. You can find him on Facebook at Luscious Moss Studio or Chad Christ in Edgewood, Washington. And with that, I'm about ready to start my interview with Dave. Country Dave Harmonson he's best known in the outer world. So Dave, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started in music. I know we all read your bio, but some people didn't. So,
well, I don't know. I started playing guitar when I was like 15 years old in high school, and I only played acoustic guitar for a real long time. I didn't really play electric guitars until I was around 20 years old. Or now and then I'd play somebody else's guitar, but I didn't own one until about then. But and I didn't really start playing in groups. It's hard to say. It kind of migrated. I did some folk kind of groups when I was in high school.
Yeah.
A little bit. And we didn't really play. We did, I guess you could call them gigs. I think the first couple of gigs I did were really kind of silly. I got somehow, I don't know where it came from. I'd get these gigs to play for some business banquet or something, and you'd play like 2 or 3 songs or something, and then they were pretty strange.
Yeah. Well, when you were younger, when did you start with your music, and what kind of influences did you have at the time?
Well, I was just listening to the popular music of the day. That was in the 60s, so I was listening to the Beatles, and I'd get the songbooks. I'd like the Beatles songbook or Simon and Garfunkel.
I got it.
And I liked all that stuff like that. The Association, the bands, but I didn't really know anything about what they were actually playing on the records. I did know some music theory pretty early on, so I didn't sing as high as a lot of those people, so I would change keys and just put it in the key that I sang it in, and work out my way of playing it. But it wasn't until later that I really started studying what different players were actually playing on the records and trying to learn what they were doing. But in the early 70s is when I kind of started learning. I kind of migrated into playing country music. First of all, I kind of got attracted to guys like Doc Watson was one of my big influence.
I don't know who that is.
And his, he was a great flat picker and also fingerstyle stuff. But I got into that, and that's more associated with bluegrass. And I remember listening to like Jimmy Rogers, and I really got into the old Jimmy Rogers blue yodel things. And then I started meeting some country players that were really good. Started listening to Merle Haggard and Buck Owens, George Jones. And that's where I could play something to make a living with. I learned how to play electric guitar and pedal steel guitar where I could play in a country band. So, and then by about 72, 73, I started doing that. And I've been doing that ever since.
Yeah. And you're doing it quite well. So I do have somebody who's listening to us, Rodney Landert from Hot Rodsters. He's a fiddle player. I don't know if you know him, but he does Charlie Daniel tributes. He's listening, and I believe I interviewed him last week.
Oh, okay.
So he's quite the country performer. He likes country rock like me.
All right.
So when you...
I opened up a show one time for Charlie Daniels.
Did you really?
It's up here in Linwood. It was it was at Linwood High School by their football field, their outdoor show.
How long ago?
And, that was good. It was fun.
Yeah. Well, I have never heard him in person, but I would have loved to. I think he was quite the man. He didn't mind being political either.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I don't follow. I would pretty much not agree with his politics. In fact, I saw him one time at the Tacoma Dome, and unfortunately, he spent about a third of the show talking of politics rather than
Oh
just
no.
playing music. That was kind of irritating.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Not
his
anymore.
philosophy of hang every criminal is not exactly a really wise thing, I don't think.
No, not
But anyway,
exactly.
we'll delve into that.
So when you started, how old were you when you started approximately? A teenager or a young man, or when did you
Well,
start the steel and dobro playing?
well, well, I started playing guitar when I was 15. I knew some music. I didn't, my parents always had a piano. My mom played a little bit of piano. My dad wasn't. My dad was actually a preacher. And
Yeah.
so I learned a lot of music in church. I learned how to sing and read vocal parts and stuff like that from church.
Mhm.
And I had two older sisters, and they both played piano. And one of my sisters actually played guitar before I did it. She showed me the first few things to play on guitar.
Yeah.
And but by then they were both moved out of home, but they'd be home sometimes for part of the summer, things like that. And but yeah, I just kind of got actually one of the big a big thing for me that happened when I was about 19, 20 years old. I lived in Tacoma, and I was going to Tacoma Community College, and there was a girl I met there named Gay Windsor, and we sang a lot together, and we still do now and then. We're still dear friends from way back, and she's a great singer. But we saw this poster for an open mic at Court C Coffee House. It was called the alleys in downtown Tacoma are called courts. So
Yeah.
Court C was between Market Street and Broadway. So this coffee house there, they had a great open mic, kind of a unique one. It was a whole artist mall there. They had all these little hippie-owned businesses, and then a coffee house and a nice little concert room. And there was one of the coolest things about that one. They had this back room, a warm-up room. That this guy Chris Lunn was the host of it and ran it. And he had an office, and then through his office there was a space for a warm-up, so musicians could meet. I met a lot of great players back there. Sometimes you'd have a better performance in the warm-up room than you had on the stage.
Yeah.
So, but I started playing there, and that's when I really kind of started being a performer rather than just I played. There was kind of little things I did, like I said, doing those silly banquets and a few
Yeah.
a few kind of things like that. But that's when I started, and you would start getting gigs from around those. I mean, it's funny. Chris would book people into. We used to do these little things on Fort Lewis and McCord and
Oh,
around at PLU and at UPS. We play in their places there, and it started getting into gigs in the clubs a little bit too. So that started happening to me about 1970, 71.
yeah.
And then started learn. I turned 21 in 72, and I started playing in the country bars right after that.
I understand there was
So,
quite a bit around the Tacoma area and Seattle area everywhere.
yeah,
All week long, not just weekends.
yeah. Tacoma had a lot of country bars back then, and I learned a lot from the country players in those bars. There was one of the guys I learned a lot of guitar from was a guy named Shotgun Red.
Yeah,
Who,
yes. Oh,
yeah, you knew
yes.
Shotgun. Well, he died a couple of years ago. He died. It wasn't from COVID. But it was right about the time COVID was breaking out and shutting everything down. He died right about then. But and you also probably knew Noki Edwards, another Tacoma
Yes. I
from
know
the
no.
Ventures, and he was a big influence on me. And I learned a lot about playing from him. And the first steel player I actually met was in Tacoma. First time I saw a pedal steel player live was Chubby Howard, who played with he played in Tacoma but he moved around 72. Not too long after I'd met him, he moved to Ohio. He just died here this last year, and he was about 95 years old, I think. So he's a steel guitar Hall of Fame guy. And then there's still in Tacoma, or he lives in Burien, a great steel player, Jimmy Webb.
Yes.
He's still around, but not playing much right these days. But there was a really good there was a good bar scene and good country players in Tacoma in the 70s for sure.
Yes.
There was a lot. Ty Willard, who's passed on now, he lived in Tacoma, and then he was down in Arizona and California too. And there was we kept ourselves busy. playing. There was 7 or 8 different country bars in Tacoma that were
Yeah.
all, doing 5 nights a week of music.
Did you know Bill Garner?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yes.
Yeah, Bill Garner, another great players.
Yeah, he played for me.
Right,
He's passed, of course, but that man was he was something else. He wasn't going to give up no matter what. I mean, they couldn't keep him down even when he couldn't walk. He was still
right. No,
moving
he was.
up
I
there.
didn't. Yeah, I didn't really know him until after he had the accident and he was
Ah,
paralyzed.
yeah.
But I knew of him because he was in Tacoma in the 50s, and I think wasn't he down in California then for a long time?
I believe he was
Yeah.
touring too. I know he played with. I mean, as far as I understood, he was. That was his job. He was
Oh yeah.
a musician.
But,
I mean, that was his lifestyle.
but yeah, him. I know stories on him and Noki in the 50s were like those were the guitar icons of Tacoma at the time.
Yeah.
Bill Garner.
I have a question.
Sure.
Why did you go? There was so much rock going on, not so much in the 70s, but it was just beginning. And the later 70s and 80s, all these rock bands came in. And I'm wondering why you chose country over rock or folk or whatever other kind of
Well,
music is out there
I
around
was I was kind of more into like folk music and singer songwriters of the time, the early 70s. I like people like James Taylor
here. Mhm.
and stuff like that. But uh, actually, when I first started playing country bars, that was closest to what I played and I could make a living at.
Yeah. Okay.
And I met, there was other friends. There was a good guy and a real close friend that showed me a lot of stuff about playing country. A guy named Rick Eshelman, who sadly he died a few years back, and he had moved up from California, and he was a guy that kind of turned me on to a lot of. I wasn't really listening to like Merle Haggard or
Yeah.
George Jones, and
Uh,
he was like, hey, you got to listen to this stuff. Listen to what they're doing, and he was a big influence on me, and so that's just where that's the stuff I like to play, and plus uh, I figured out how to play. I started being adequate, or I was competent at playing it, and I didn't really know how to play rock and roll. I mean,
ah.
I had to as time went on. I played in bands where you still even in country bands you had to still do a certain amount of rock and roll when you're
Yeah.
playing at the bar. And even you go back to like Buck Owens when he was playing bars, he would be doing Johnny B. Good and stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah.
he was
Exactly.
playing the rock and roll hits of the day in his own way, and I think that's. But one thing I've always been, I've been doing this now for a long, long time.
Yes.
And one thing I think I've learned is it's not good to do stuff that you're not good at. So I don't need to be trying to sing like Mick Jagger, or I don't need to sing like Robert Plant, because I don't sing like that.
Yeah.
I I'm a country singer and I can sing like, not that I sing like George Jones or
Yeah.
Merle Haggard, but that's the style of singing
Yes.
that I
That's familiar.
that's my forte. And so it's not. I don't think it's a good idea to play stuff that you're not that good at. So I want to only play what I know how to do, and I got nothing against the people that do the rock and roll. I admire all the rock. I admire all kinds of musicians for whatever style,
All right.
but I'm just going to play what I play. And then plus, it takes a long time, but hopefully when people, if they see a show and it's Country Dave, they know what they're going to get.
Exactly.
They know they're not going to get, a hip hop show or R&B show. It's going to be a country show, and it's going to be vintage country. I don't really play any of the new country stuff.
You have a band right now, don't you?
Sure. Yeah. My band is called Pickin' Crew.
With the Picking Crew? Okay.
Pickin' Crew. Country Dave and the
Yeah.
Pickin' Crew. Yeah.
I went out to the cut shop in Woodville,
Right.
and you were playing out there. I don't know. I must have asked you to play for me or something. I don't know what the deal was, but oh yeah, it was traditional country and then some.
Right. So yeah, when I play country, and I've been writing more stuff the last few years, and it's pretty much straight up country or kind of popish, and I mean we'll have rock elements of our songs. Some of them, I mean, because you want to have some.
Yeah.
I think I play probably more high energy music now than I did 50 years ago.
Back then, yeah.
I think in the country rooms, it used to be kind of in the country dance band, you'd kind of like two fast songs and a slow. And
Yeah, yeah.
now it's more like 7 or 8 fast ones and one slow one. So and I love doing the ballads, but you can't do too many of them in a dance thing because
Yeah.
you're gonna, these days
Yeah.
they want more up tempo and partying.
Exactly.
So,
I that was one thing I didn't like about traditional country. Now I learned it all, and
right.
I had good teachers, but um, it's just so slow and boring to me. So
Well,
when
not boring's the wrong word, man. You got to listen to it
well,
right.
it was
If you think it's boring, you're not listening to it right.
well, yeah, I just don't like the speed. I meant the speed, not the
Yeah,
words, not what it was supposed to represent, but just that
yeah.
slow,
So,
constant
well, I'd
thing.
have to strongly disagree with your assessment.
Oh,
How's that?
yeah, that's okay. You go right ahead. You're more of an expert on it than I am.
Well, I don't know, I don't know expert,
Oh, I think
but
you are
it's
after all this time.
like people that don't like baseball. If you don't like it, you don't understand it.
Yeah,
So if
true.
you don't like slow country, you don't really understand it because it's there to be enjoyed. And
Yeah.
sad songs have this emotion to them. You're supposed kind of like blues. They said you don't sing blues because you feel bad. You sing blues because you want to get over feeling bad. And
Oh,
that's kind of what singing sad songs is about. It's a healing.
really?
So I love the sad songs, and it's
I
like
love the fast song like Johnny B. Good and Liza Jane.
oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I love those too. Yeah, I like those. And I like a song where you can play some hot picking in.
There you go.
But
And there's a lot of one thing I noticed the difference, I jam with a lot of rockers, but the difference that I notice is that, you have in country, you have a kind of a set lead lick. I mean, it's everybody recognizes it right away. This is the signature lick for that song. And there's such a variation of different kinds of country picking. It's amazing, and different kinds of country dancing. So you carry even up to some songs are sambas, I guess you'd call them, or rumbas or
sure,
sambas.
right.
And you get the whole range where rock, I still don't understand.
I think rock has it too. I think any genre is more complex. If you're actually in it, you understand all the complexities of it. But sometimes when you're on the outside, you're only listening at the overall thing, and you think everything's all the same. Like a lot of people that don't really listen to country, they think all country music is the same. But like that's Merle Haggard lick there for Mama Tried. But you've also got
Johnny Cash.
so those songs are completely different. They're not. They're But someone from the outside are going, well, they're both country. Or you'll have a Patsy Cline song. This is a slow dance song. Anyway,
Yeah,
I
I
digress.
love it.
But I think every music has more. There's more complexity to it than if you're actually involved in it than what you see from the outside.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like that with music. I don't really listen to very much. I'll think, well, that all sounds the same. But then if I really examine it, I can say, well,
Examine it. Yeah.
no, they have a lot of differences too. Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of different rock and roll things, too.
Yeah.
So
I'm still learning about the rock people, and they're still learning country. So and they're still
right,
playing for me. They can't play the licks, but they get it. Musician's a musician, true.
right,
But when I first met you, this is probably quite a ways down the road from where you started, but um, I went to a jam with Pat McCann and the Southlanders,
yeah,
and you were playing steel for him.
yeah. I
Uh,
played steel and guitar. I was playing with him from about from '98. Well, then I actually played in that band till like 2003 or four.
mhm.
But he had left for the last year or two, he had left the band. He was having health issues,
Yeah.
and we were just the Southlanders without Pat. But
Yeah.
yeah, Pat was a good guy. I loved it. He was a lot of fun to work with.
I enjoyed him.
And my old buddy Dave Dorning was playing guitar,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
Dave and I have known each other since the early '70s, and played
Yeah.
together off and on, and we still do. We still play
Oh, really? I wondered
together.
about him. We
We
were
still.
just thinking what happened to him.
Oh, he's still around playing. He plays with Kimberly in the 8 Second Ride.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, he's a guitar player for them, and then sometimes he plays with me with a band called Tequila Rose Band with
Yeah.
Robert Schaefer on drums and my son Jesse on bass.
Yes.
And when Dave can't do it, we get other guitar players. But Dave's when we'll play gigs at the Little Red Hen, and Dave's usually on those. So Dave and I really know how to play together. We played together a lot, so we just we don't really have to talk a song over. We just know how to do it.
Yeah, he
just
is.
By the way, just the way you play a lick, you know what's going to go next. Everybody, we know each other's tendencies pretty well. So that's always really good.
Yeah, he was with our band for a little while, and then he moved on. And I think it was Kim. I think the 8 Second Ride band. He left for that one, and I got Chet Hastings to play lead at that time.
Yeah.
You know Chet too, or
I've met him. I don't. Yeah. Yeah, I know him. Not real well, but I know him.
Okay. Yeah, he's been around a long time.
Yeah.
So from the earliest times, you were always playing country, and you used to things that I had a few times where I went out of state, and I went to the airport, and I walked past this country player singing with his guitar, and I, oh my gosh, that's Country Dave Harmonson sitting there.
Yeah. We started doing music at the airport in 2013, and we've done it ever since. We had a couple years off from the COVID closures.
Yeah.
But they got it going back up about a year ago. So we've been back. I still play down there, usually a couple times a month, and various locations around the airport. That's a really enjoyable little gig.
It is.
I just play solo for those. I do a lot of solo gigs too. I'm playing Wednesday night. This coming Wednesday, I'll be playing up in Snohomish at the Pie Dive Bar.
Pie Dive.
It's right by
that's a new one.
Yeah, it's just
where that is. Yeah,
it's a couple doors down from the Oxford.
Yep.
And,
yeah, I've had pie there. It's good.
Yeah, and it's meat pies and dessert pies and a full bar. And I play there like on a couple of Wednesdays a month.
Yeah.
6 to 9.
Well, we were walking by on the way to Oxford the other day, probably 2 weeks ago, and I did a double take because I saw your little poster out there.
Yeah.
You're going to be there. So taking a look here, there's what somebody said, and I don't know because they're not identifying themselves, that Robert Plant didn't even think Robert Plant can sing himself. So I don't know this man, so I'm not sure what that's all about. And
Robert Plant was, of course, the lead singer from Led Zeppelin.
Oh, okay.
And he's also done a couple of amazing albums with Alison Krauss.
Oh, yeah. Now that's a whole different genre.
Yeah, and it's pretty remarkable stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, she's a terrific singer. Yeah, that's bluegrass. That's the very best of bluegrass.
Well, and those albums with him are not bluegrass. But they're more like folk country-ish.
Really?
It's not bluegrass though.
Wait, can you tell me a name or two of the albums? I want to look into that.
I don't know what the titles are, but they've got two, and they on the latest one they did a version of the. In fact, there's a guy who lives locally. Randy Weeks wrote a song that was made famous by Lucinda Williams called "Can't Let Go." As I can't let go. I don't sing it. And but Randy Weeks lives in Cedar Woolley now. He's the guy that wrote the song, and I played with him a time or two. But he, yeah, that's on their newest version. There's a really good version of that with Robert Plant and Alison Krauss. On the first album they did a couple of old favorite songs of mine written by Gene Clark, one of the original Byrds. There's a song called a song called Polly, a beautiful haunting waltz tune. And I don't want to sing it right now because I have to sing it really high. I have to sing loud.
Yeah,
And
no problem.
I don't like to practice here in my kitchen singing loud at this time of day, but it's a nightclub song. But no, I don't know the names of the albums, to tell you the truth, but they're really good stuff.
I'll have to watch out for that one.
Yeah.
So just a reminder to the people who are making comments on here, put your name on because I can't see who you are. Rodney did put his name on. I know when I hear Hot Rodsters, I know immediately who they are. But the rest of the comments in here, I don't know who you are. So please comment with your name. Thank you.
All right.
Moving along.
Anybody asking any questions there or what?
Not yet. Making comments and sending little blue hearts and saying I'm listening, but
cool.
no questions as of yet. Deb Seymour is listening. Deb, I don't know if she was. Remember? Do you know her?
Yeah, I just did a recording for her.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
just a week ago. Much fun. Oh, it's just so much fun. I just love that lady. Yeah, I had an interview with her, and I truly enjoyed what she does. Yeah. So moving on from that, 2013. Well, actually, I stopped in 2015. I had some health issues, and then right about the time that I was getting started again, COVID hit. So what was going on in your world when you couldn't go out there and play like you used to?
Yeah, well, it was pretty scary because that's what I do. I make my living playing music. So, and you weren't going to be able to go in public and do it anymore. And so, actually, I started doing live stream shows.
No wonder you could get
in. Which that I can play solo with just a guitar. I was able to do that. I felt really bad for it. I mean, it wasn't something that like a bass player or drummer is going to be able to do. You're not going to do a solo drum show on your phone,
Yeah.
Or I mean, you could, but it's going to be hard to get listeners. And that helped. It was actually real successful to begin with, and like kind of everybody was doing it, kind of filtered out. But that helped out a lot. And plus, the state changed their policy. They actually allowed self-employed people to get unemployment.
Yes, I heard that.
Which was a lifesaver for me, for sure. Yeah. And you had to like climb through a bunch of hoops to make it work, and there was no one to talk to help you. You couldn't get a person to talk to say to what you do. So it was like you would keep getting denied because you could. I'd actually, what was kind of funny, they wanted to have your income from the year before, and I'd done one like 6-week run for the Taproot Theater for doing a Patsy Cline's theater show. It's called Always Patsy Cline.
Yes.
And so I'd been on that, and that was that's instead of like a regular week. Usually when musicians are paid, you're an independent contractor, and you're just paid you take care of your own taxes. So, but in this case, they took out you were actually an employee, and they took out taxes. So I had this 6 weeks of income where the income tax was taken out, and they were like, well, that doesn't qualify for enough employment to get so you get declined. You keep saying, well, that wasn't mine. That was only employment for that part of that. I had other employment that 6 weeks besides that too. But anyway, so they kept saying they need more. It didn't work enough to qualify to get employment and that sort of thing. Eventually, you hit the right button, put in the right number for them, and you got it. But so I wound up eking by through that year. And then gradually, some places were like soft opening. I remember we started doing Little Red Hen, where we'd play we were playing with a
He had a
screener.
didn't they have a
Screener would have
plexiglass
a
thing?
shield in front of us,
Yeah, yeah.
and it'd be just a single or a duo. And so we started playing some gigs like that. And then, finally things opened up again. But that was quite made it through somehow. So that's all I can say. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, there's a guy, I don't know if you know him from the old Heart band called Roger Fisher.
Yeah,
Did,
I've met him. I've known him.
did
I don't
he help
know.
you out at all, or
What's that?
did he help you in any way, or did?
No, I didn't have any contact with him.
Okay.
I've been on a couple of shows that he was on back before the COVID shutdown, but not really directly involvement.
I think he had some kind of monies available. I don't.
Yeah, I think he had a thing for helping musicians.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing about that, but yeah, I wasn't involved with that.
Okay. Yeah, the North End and the South End are kind of different. After living in the South End and moving here to Redmond in the North End, or the East Side, North End, there's a lot more rock here and a lot less country. And it's a kind of a different atmosphere. I don't know how to explain it, but I've survived it. So are you going to play something for us today, or?
I guess so. Is there anything you like to hear?
Well, I like Sleepwalk, but I don't know if you play that or not.
That's a steel guitar song.
Oh, shoot.
I could do it on here, but that's really a steel guitar song.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what, I'll do one of my songs. I'll do a song.
Okay. Yeah, here a singer-songwriter too, and I hope I put that on there. I'm going to go, Dave. I'm going to log off so they can see you. Okay, but I'm here.
All right. This one here, a little Western swing thing I made up called "I Got a Hole in My Heart as Big as Texas," and forgive my loud heater there. I got a hole in my heart as big as Texas since I lost my rose of San Antonio. Now the western skies don't shine for me no more. Just a lonely tumbleweed rolling along. We used to dance a Texas two-step every night till closing time. Now she's got a new ranch hand to squeeze her and hold her tight. This Texas size hole right through my heart. It's broken me and torn us apart. I got a hole in my heart as big as Texas, as big and wide as the Texas plain. Now I'm walking the floor, I ain't waltzing no more. My rose is gone, I'll never be the same. Now the stars at night are no longer big and bright. She ain't been around my old corral at night. I got a hole in my heart as big as Texas since I lost my rose of San Antonio. Now the stars at night are no longer big and bright. She ain't been around my old corral at night. I got a hole in my heart as big as Texas since I lost my rose of San Antonio. Well, she's gone. I lost my rose of San Antonio. That's it. I got a hole in my heart as big as Texas.
All right, loved it. All right. Now, Deb Seymour said, "Country Dave rocks."
All right. In my country way.
In your country way. So, when you, of all your years of experience, two things: what influenced you the most, one or who? And have you ever had a moment when you thought, "Oh my gosh, I know I did the right thing. This is my aha moment"?
I don't know. I probably had plenty of moments where I thought, "Why the hell am I doing this?"
Yeah.
Because it's it's a pretty brutal way to try to make a living sometimes. Yeah, things can happen that are out of your control. You know, clubs go out, you're booked at a place and goes out of business. But
Yeah.
what was the first part you said? Who was the biggest influence? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't narrow it down to one. I just
Yeah.
there's so many. All kinds of people. I just try to learn from everybody I could. Noki Edwards was huge, big
Yeah.
influence. I was really fortunate to get to know him when I was about 22 years old, and it was a phenomenal guitar player, just incredible guy, and I jammed with him many times. And I'd go home from a jam session and try to figure out what he was doing, and try to learn from him. And a lot of times I'd have something. I didn't learn what he did, but I came up with something. A lot of times, innovation sometimes is somebody trying to copy something and you can't quite
Yeah.
get it, but you come
I
up with
know
your own thing.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and so there was part of that. I tried to figure out what he was doing, and I didn't quite play what he did, but I came up with something that worked for me. And so a lot of that, but Shotgun Red, like I mentioned before, and there was, the country players. But there was a guy named another one that's passed away and too young. He had cancer. Dudley Hill was a great flat picker. He was in the band in the '70s into the '80s called the Sky Boys. And the band, there's a swing like Django Reinhardt band, a tribute king called Pearl Django. And when he was in the original band of that, and, original formation of Pearl Django. But he, unfortunately, he wound up getting cancer shortly after that, and didn't and died too young. But he was. I learned a lot from him. I mean, there was all kinds of people. I just, countless ones, and. So I couldn't really say who was the biggest influence, and of course, listening to, I liked, I liked a lot of the early on, I liked more of the California country bands, but like Merle Haggard and George Jones, Buck Owens, and then like the early Eagles stuff. I wasn't so much into the Eagles. Once the Eagles got really big and were more of a rock thing, I really wasn't into it as much. But I, early on, I liked, when they did Peaceful, Easy Feeling, that stuff.
Yes.
And I got pretty tired of hearing that one after a while. But I was, I liked that, and the bands like Poco and the Flying Burrito Brothers, Graham Parsons. I was really big into, I really loved Graham Parsons stuff. And every year I put on a Graham Parsons tribute show somewhere in town, and because he was this guy that was kind of instrumental in bringing country sound into the Southern California thing. And he wasn't the only one, but he was one of the big people that kind of started that, the predecessor to the Eagles and Poco and those. And when he had the band, the Flying Burrito Brothers, and they were kind of mixing rock elements with country and pop and gospel. They had like gospel influences and pop and all kinds of things. But of course, then he was kind of an idiot and died from a drug overdose when he was only 26 years old. But yeah, and of course, I should mention for sure one of my big guitar influences was not local. I saw him play once with the Byrds. Was Clarence White, who was amazing acoustic and electric guitar player, and he invented a thing called the Parsons White string bender. It was not Graham Parsons, Gene Parsons, who was a drummer at the Byrds for a while. But they have this. I don't have my B bender here, but invented a device you build into your guitar where you can bend that string up a whole step by pushing the neck down. There's a strap. Dave Dorning. My first one was I got in 1976, and Dave Dorning has that guitar now. But there's a lever here that the strap hooks onto, and it's all built into the body, and it comes out back over here behind the nut, behind the bridge, and it pulls the B string a whole step. So you can make that. It's a pedal steel kind of move. So Clarence White was an amazing player of that. And the Marty Stewart actually has the first.
So unlike that.
He has that Clarence White guitar, which is like kind of a historic piece. Marty Stewart he bought it from Clarence's widow about 1980, I think. But Clarence White, he was sadly he got killed by a drunk driver after he was loading gear into his car after a gig. He was only 29 back in 1973. But I was really into Clarence White a lot, and then later, maybe one of my probably just about my all-time favorite Telecaster and acoustic guitar player was James Burton, who was played with Ricky Nelson from 58 till about 64 or 65. Then he was playing with everybody. A lot of the most of the early Merle Haggard, the lick that came from James Burton. Working Man Blues, that's James Burton. And he played with Elvis from like 69 to when Elvis died. James Burton was also in the original Emmylou Harris's Hot Band for the first couple of albums, and he left because he was too busy playing with Elvis. And Albert Lee took his spot. Albert Lee was phenomenal, so that worked out okay for Emmylou too, though. But yeah, I absorbed, and I listened to, it isn't just country guitar players I listen to. I like to listen to the jazz players, and I don't really play like them, but Joe Pass was an amazing jazz player. I like to listen to him. And I just try to listen to any kind of good guitar playing, and I like the hot licks, but a lot of times if it's only hot licks, it doesn't have any impact.
Yeah.
You got to let it breathe. You got to play something. That's where I let James Burton. He would play. There's a I can't remember what key they were in, but there was a great Emmylou Harris song called "Too Far Gone," where Burton just played. I can't remember. It was. Let's see if I get. Too far gone. And he just waits and just says that. I've been far. I just like that.
I
He
love
just leaves
those.
all his spaces. Just has this simple little lick there. But then he could play these, ripping licks too when he called for it. So that's what I like. I like guys that, they say, however you say it, play with taste or whatever. But play some melody. You can play that. You can play something simple.
Yeah. I've got a question about these airport gigs. I was thinking, has anybody ever, during the time that you were playing those gigs, have any of these people or any of the Nashville stars ever crossed your path while you were playing?
Well, not so much Nashville star. I met some fine musicians. Actually, one time I didn't know who she was. I was playing kind of a Western swing tune.
Yeah.
And there was a girl coming by. She had a fiddle, and it was in a travel case. I could tell this is like a professional case. And she kind of gave me a nod, like, "Hey, you mind if I play?" And I said, "Well, sure, go ahead." And it turns out she's from this band called Elena James. Plays in a great three-piece group out of Austin now. They're called Hot Club from Cowtown. Great little three-piece swing band. And she sat in for about the last half hour of my set there, and it was great. And I met one time. I was just finishing the set, and a guy had walked up, and he had a guitar case, and he said, I was standing up and put my guitar away, and he said, "Well, you taking a break?" I said, "No, I'm done for the day." He goes, "Oh man, I was hoping I could play some with you. I got an 8-string dobro."
Oh.
And so I was like, "Well, not too many people travel with 8-string dobros that aren't real players, So I said, "Well, let's play a couple, And his name was Peter Grant, and he lives down in California. He used to play with Hoyt Axton, and he's playing with the current version of the New Riders of the Purple Sage. and he taught lessons to steel guitar lessons to Jerry Garcia. So,
How did he play? Is he good?
he's great. Yeah, he is a great player. And funny, I thought usually when you have an 8-string dobro, it's like tuned to a 6 tuning, which you'd use for Western swing. So you want to do some Western swing? No, do something like Buck Owens or something like that. So we were doing like Tiger by the Tail, and I think I did Working Man Blues or something like that. And that was great. Luckily, we actually had a video of a couple of those because what we call our gig manager is a guy who had set up the gear, who's really only there at the beginning of the set and the end. I was just finishing up. He was right there, so he took a video on his phone.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, I've run into a few players, and I've seen celebrities there. I remember one time Chris Berman from ESPN was walking by, and he kind of looked, and he was listening for a little bit, and he had my name's on a sign. He goes, "Sounds good, Dave." And I was like, but wherever it was in the song, his little catchphrase on ESPN was, "He could go all the way." So I said that real quick, and he turned around and laughed and put $5 in my tip jar. So,
oh, fun.
So I got $5 from Chris Berman.
Larry,
I saw Jay Buhner with his family, ex-Mariner. Saw him walk by. They didn't. They just rolled onto it. Saw Conan O'Brien there one time.
Oh.
Russell Brand.
I don't know who that is.
Actor, comedian.
Oh.
Used to be an item with Katy Perry.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But yeah, so every once in a while you run into some because I mean, and the other thing it was funny about playing the airport. I didn't think about when I started. I see friends there a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, well, yeah, obviously if you're flying out of Seattle, you're probably going from SeaTac. So that's where they do have a few flights up at Payne Field now, but majority, unless you have your own jet and you're flying out of Boeing Field, you're going to be flying out of SeaTac. So I do see people, friends there a lot. I've had friend musicians show up and sit in and play a couple of tunes with me and stuff, if they had an instrument with them. So that's been fun.
Have you ever met Chris Sager? He's up from north in the Mount Vernon area. He's a younger man. And,
I don't think I know him.
Well, there was a song that we played in the band with Chet Hastings. So always, oh no, I can't think. It was Sadler Brothers tune that was reworked by Eric Heatherly called "Flowers on the Wall."
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah, and he had brought him up. Eric travels internationally, tours internationally, but he didn't have a real good time in Nashville. But yeah, I saw Eric and Chris play together. It was really something. But he's kind of vintage. He's changed everything, like you were talking about earlier, and adapted it to his style. But most everything he does is vintage, and it's really classic. I love it. It's really fast to listen. So
a little bit of that. So counting flowers on the wall that don't bother me at all. Staying solitaire, no doubt.
The deck of 51.
Cigarettes and smoking gas. Kangaroo and Washington.
That's one. Yes.
Yeah, great tune.
Eric put his own lyrics to it. It's great. I love the basic song. It's great. I do have a listener, Larry Hayes, is coming on for anybody listening out there next week, Monday at 2:00. And he's going to be on with his partner, Diane, and they're going to be interviewing with us. And he says, I'm enjoying this interview. Thanks, Country Dave.
All right. Cool. Very good.
So that is true. Now, what do you have coming up? I know a couple of Sundays ago, I went out to the Red Hen. Duval was closed. Their bartender got sick, and so their band couldn't come in. And I went to the Little Red Hen, and you were out there, and you played with me. You also played with me before. And do a great job. I love it. I don't know if I do a great job, but it was fun.
Right.
Anyway, you said you were out there on Sundays most of the time, unless you had a gig. So
Right.
now I knew you is. I know that's one of your gigs is being out there and
Right.
playing people
Well,
from
I'm
out
playing
of town.
tomorrow, Tuesday, which is Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras is tomorrow. I'm playing with a band called Philly Gumbo at the Ivers Captain's Table from
Ah,
7 to 10.
wait, where's that at? Which one?
That's on North Lake, on north side of Lake Union.
Okay.
Ivers, that's their
Yeah.
Mardi Gras thing, and with a great accordion player, Doug Bright, and I'll be playing guitar, and then Mark Bristol on rhythm guitar and singing, and his wife Gabby will be playing bass. We're playing there, and then Wednesday I'm doing solo at the Pie Dive Bar,
Yeah. Wednesday,
and
that's this Wednesday is the dive bar?
yeah, this
Okay.
Wednesday the next 2 Wednesdays I'll be there, and then I'll be Sunday night at the Little Red Hen. Then next Tuesday I'm playing uh, on the last Tuesday. I think that was that or that anyway. Not tomorrow, but the Tuesday after that.
The week from in
I'll
March.
be at the Little Red. I'll be at the Connor Burn Pub with my sons, Pick and Crew, with a 3-piece version of Pick and Crew. It's my 2 sons, Jesse and Aaron,
How
on
cool.
bass and on drums and bass. And then yeah, I'm playing all. I'm usually pretty busy.
Yeah.
Try to be. That's the only way I can survive.
And you are, I also listen to as many as I can find online, your videos that you put on YouTube. And
Yeah, there's a bunch of them on there. Some of them I
yeah,
wish weren't on there.
yeah, every time I see it, I go out there and look. I had Dave go to Chad Chris studio, Luscious Moss, and he played steel and dobro on a couple of my recordings. Uh, they weren't exactly country, traditional country, but I loved what he did. It was great, great session.
All right, well, I appreciate that. Yeah, it was a fun session. Chad was real good to work with.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's a lot of fun. He's very meticulous, and he'll make me do that line over and over and over again until I get it just the way he wants it.
There you go. All right.
Practice. So, other than that, do you record these yourself? Are they recorded in a studio? The things that you put on YouTube, or it's live sessions?
There's a bunch. Well, there's a friend of mine named Dave Ellis has a home studio, so I've got quite a few songs. That I did mostly my original stuff at his place, and he plays bass on it. And then
Yeah.
there's a drummer I used to work with in a band called Lance Romance way back in the late '70s. It was Keith Parmenter was playing drums, and he videos the sessions while we're recording them. And he didn't video all the overdub. I mean, we played, the 3 of us would play the song. I played a rhythm guitar part and the bass and drums,
Yeah.
and sing the song. And then some of the others I've added the guitar part onto. And then we had a friend, steel player that lives in Boise,
Yeah.
named Randy Meenock. He played some steel on some of the cuts that was recorded in Boise and video. So we got him tapped in to our recordings from Kent. Yeah, so I've got a bunch of those from Dave Ellis's studio. But then there's all kinds of different YouTubes, from live shows
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
I did one of my CDs that I had on CD Baby, which is no longer on there, but I had all that. It's called "I'll Have the Country Music Please" is the title of the album, and that whole album's on YouTube.
Okay.
So it's 14 songs, and just audio only. And there's all kinds of live stuff that's from different bands I played in, and in my own band. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff on there.
All
And like I
right.
said, some of the stuff I wish it wasn't on there,
I know. Well,
because I can't fix the mistakes
I
on there.
know.
So,
It is
but
what it is.
yeah, that's it. But
Yeah.
it's like, what, even bad publicity is still publicity, I guess. Right.
What the heck?
Right.
Absolutely. So with that, we're getting awful close to the end here.
Right.
I don't know that you ever really answered my question. Maybe you did, and I totally missed it. I've been
What's
known
that?
to do that. With one on aha moments.
Oh,
Good, those outstanding moments and those not so good moments. Two different things, sir.
well, I'd say when you have a really great, I've had some really fine shows that, I mean, I remember back in 80, I think 87, I was in the band Stampede Pass band
Oh,
I
yeah,
had
I
for,
remember that.
I had that band for many years, and we opened up for Emmylou Harris at Magnuson Park.
Oh,
And that was pretty remarkable show. We were, the people of the band and everything. But I remember, music is a rough way to go sometimes. So, like for instance, I was playing on the road with Zoe Muth, and we had some great shows in that band. Um, we played over in Europe. We played a
wow.
pretty amazing show in Glasgow, Scotland.
Oh.
But we're traveling around doing touring. We toured around the U.S. a lot, and so one time we traveled for about 3 days to get to Iowa City, and then you play for like three people there. you know,
No.
so it's that happens too. And I remember one time when it was the Lance Romance, we were traveling all the time. We had to go from Lewiston, Idaho, to Cheyenne, Wyoming, between Saturday night and Sunday or
Dude.
Monday. Between Saturday
All
night, we had to
right.
be there. We finished Saturday night in Lewiston. We had to be in Cheyenne Monday. It was about 1,000 miles. And it was summertime. We were in a motorhome. There's no air conditioning. We had a big truck and a motorhome. The van, it traveled kind of big, but we drive all the way across Montana and all the way down to Cheyenne, Wyoming. We went up spending the night in Sheridan or Buffalo, Wyoming, I think. So we only had about a 2 or 3 hour drive on the Monday. But you do all that. You drive 1,000 miles in the heat, and we played
Right.
in a great big room. It seats about 400 people for about two people.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I mean,
There are good
but
moments and bad moments, highs and lows, right?
yeah,
That's
yeah, you
life.
got them. Yeah. So, but and I've had some great moments too. So, but I'm just happy doing it. If I have a good night, I mean, it's like you play the Little Red Hen, you got a good partying crowd all night. That's that's my.
Yeah.
I mean, I like doing this the big shows where you got a big concert crowd. That's great, but I still like just the dance
Yeah,
rooms the best.
personal. Yes.
Yeah.
I hear you. What is your 5-year plan? I mean, just being alive, I guess, but
Right.
uh, 5 years into the future, or if you're looking into your magic
Well,
wand.
I'm hoping to do some more recording in the near future. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what I want to do with it now because CDs are pretty much passe. I don't think I want to put a CD out
Yeah.
because nobody's really buying them, and so
No.
I haven't really. I want to get a good album's worth of stuff of mostly my tunes, and I'm still trying to figure out where I want to do it. I'm even toying with the idea of trying to going down and do it in Nashville. Just have a little. I mean,
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Good luck.
they got great players and great studios there.
Yeah.
Um,
I was invited to do that, but you know what? I like the Northwest flavor. I mean, this is not necessarily the same kind of country music place, but
right.
there's something to be said about this music, and I didn't want it tainted by those studio musicians in Nashville.
Well, I think there's a way of using their skill, but if they're directed the way you want to play
Right.
it. So.
Yeah.
But I'm not. It's not. That's not for sure going to happen. It's just something I've been kind of toying with the idea. No, I've got musicians that I work with around here that are quite
Yeah.
capable of doing a
Well,
really good product.
exactly.
And I've got a couple of CDs that are Northwest made, and I'm really I'm happy with them.
Absolutely.
And actually, on both of mine, I wind up playing a good portion of most of the guitar parts and steel parts myself. And I think I might try to lean towards doing a little less and having. I mean, I can do it, and partly I've done it to save money by not having to hire other musicians. You know, I can do the part. I don't have to pay somebody else to do it.
Right.
But sometimes I think it's good to get an outside,
Yeah.
a different player in there.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I do have other players on my stuff that, you know, when I need a fiddle player or harmonica or, you know, instruments I don't play. You know, I've got the other players, you know, and of course bass and drums and keyboards sometimes.
he doesn't say it. Country Dave doesn't say it, but he's just a slam bam country steel at dobro, not to mention guitar players. So is there any other instruments you play before we go? We're kind of out of time, but I do want to know.
All right. Well, pretty much I just play steel guitar. I played non-pedal steel, dobro, and, you know,
Yes.
acoustic electric guitar.
Yes.
I have played mandolin some in the past, but I was going to pull out my mandolin a few years ago to play, and the top was caved in on it,
No.
and it wasn't going to be worth fixing. And I just kind of decided, well, I'm really not much of a mandolin player, and I might as well just leave mandolin to the mandolin players. So I don't really play that anymore. I have played banjo before, but I'm not really a banjo player.
Did you have any last words in closing to us and the people who are listening?
All right. Well, I hope you come out and see Country Dave play sometime. Come out, say hello, put some money in the tip jar. How's that?
Can you put a schedule of things that are coming up into Matured Musicians so many people can find it?
Yeah, I'll do that after we get down here.
You have a website as well?
No, just Facebook, and I've got my Country Dave Harmonson musician page and my own personal page, Dave Harmonson.
Okay.
So that's it. All right. Thanks, Joey.
Thank you so much, Dave. I hope to be seeing you in the future.
Right.
Everybody, thank you for listening to us today. You have a good one. Bye-bye, Dave. Keep your country.
All right.
Well, that's it for me. Larry Hayes and Diane, I will be on next Monday at 2:00. Do tune in. I will be advertising that shortly. So everybody have a good rest of your week until I see you next Monday. Happy President's Day and have a good day. Bye, everybody. Let's see if I can get out of here gracefully this time.